It sounds like it's troubleshooting something.
Yeah. We'll go through all the stuff, the quorum and all that stuff, and then we'll get to you.
It's nice and cool in here, you want me to complain?
It's free air conditioning.
Perfect.
We all set, George?
Good to go.
Alrighty then. Welcome to the July 5th regular meeting of the Durham Planning Board. First step is to confirm we have a quorum. We do. We have 5 members actually. We have Tyler Hutchison, Julia Kaplinger, Alan Purinton, John Talbot, and we have an alternate member, Brian Lanoy. So we have our quorum. And then the next thing we have to do is any amendments to the agenda.
No, sir.
Seeing none, we'll move on to acceptance of the minutes of the June 7th, 2023 meeting. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion
Do
to
I have-
accept.
Do I have a second? I have a second from Tyler, and it's been moved and second. Any comments? You can't vote on this one. And so, in that case, it's passed, and we've accepted the minutes. Informational exchange on non-agenda items. Town officials, Mr. Tabarge.
Nothing to report.
Yeah, okay, good. Any residents? Any non-residents? And this is for items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we will move on to the 5th item, continuing business, substantive review of final plat application for the Deer Creek Crossing subdivision, map 7, lot 32A, and public comments will not be taken. Mr. Tabarge, if you'd like to kick us off?
Yes, as indicated in the planning board agenda packet, this application was tabled on June 7th at the applicant's request, and they have since received the Army Corps permit for the stream crossing. The peer reviewer, Will Haskell, has indicated that the applicant has satisfied all of the peer review comments, including the hydraulic calculations for the fire bond. The board did indicate in the preliminary approval process that it would rely upon the environmental permits issued by the DEP and the Army Corps for the stream crossing, and that was part of the reason for emphasizing the importance of that application process and not giving a conditional approval, because you're gonna go by that information in making a determination that this project complies with the environmental standards of the ordinance. The fire chief has indicated his acceptance of the fire pond design, including the hydrological analysis. He's confident that there will be water in it on a year-round basis with the design. The stormwater treatment basin that is located near the stream is actually on property to be retained by Dean Smith. And I have pointed out that there needs to be an easement shown on the subdivision plan so that the homeowners association will have the authority to go onto Dean Smith's property to maintain that in order to comply with your DEP permit, as well as the town's requirements. I have, for several months now, suggested that the board should have a packet of all of the information, the final versions of everything, upon which you are going to be making your decision, so that when you go through the findings of fact, you can see the documents, you can refer to them, and the record can clearly indicate which of the many, this is the preliminary approval process, these are all the documents of the final approval process, including all of the different versions of the plan. So the applicant has submitted a cover letter with a few additional pieces of documents for tonight, as well as a final version of the subdivision plan set. The applicant is proposing, requesting a conditional agreement in lieu of a performance guarantee. Typically, a developer would put up a irrevocable letter of credit for the full cost of the infrastructure installation for the project, roads, utilities, stormwater, everything. Under the ordinance, it does provide flexibility that a developer can agree that they will not sell any lots and will not be able to get any building permits for any of the lots until one of two things happens. Either they complete the infrastructure roads and everything else for the subdivision. And the town road commissioner and the town's peer review inspector certifies that everything is built according to the plan and applicable design standards. And then they can sell lots and get building permits. Or if they go in and complete, let's just say they complete 80% of the improvements. They haven't paved the road base is all in, utilities in, stream crossing is done, and they wanna start selling lots at that point, then they can bring in a performance guarantee for the remaining improvements. They have to come back to the planning board, give you an update of where they are with the project, show you what they're proposing, get Will Haskell, the town's reviewer, to say, yes, that's the appropriate amount for the completion of the project. And then an amended plan would be filed in the registry, lifting the restriction on the sale of lots and issuance of building permits. So that's what they are proposing and requesting that you approve a conditional agreement. I have pointed out that the ordinance requires, and it should be a condition on the subdivision recorded plan, so that anybody negotiating with them for the purchase of a lot, your attorneys, title attorneys will see, until all of the infrastructure is done or the condition of the performance guarantee is met, we can't have a closing. That should be on the document that's recorded in the registry of deeds. The DEP stormwater permit, initially, the applicant was saying that they didn't need to have a DEP stormwater permit, in part because so much of the site has already been disturbed, as I recall, as part of the discussion. But they finally decided we need to get the permit, and so that was still in motion, and I'm not sure exactly what the status of that is, but that was one of the outstanding issues. I mentioned the easement for the stormwater basin on Dean Smith's land. And also, just for the record, wanted to point out that the easement for the fire pond, the town is being, on the subdivision plan, given the rights to go and use that pond and fix it if it's not working. And the homeowners association would be responsible for that. But it needs to be clear that it is not the town fire department that is responsible for maintaining that pond. So that's just an issue. I did prepare draft findings of fact and approval conditions in your packet. Since I reviewed the plans that were submitted last Wednesday, over the past few days, I had the opportunity to go through those, and I've done an update that includes some additional proposed conditions to address some of these issues that I just mentioned and others. And as you go through this document, this is your formal, legally enforceable decision, and you're required by Maine law as well as the land use ordinance to go through each of the criteria, each of the standards. I've prepared draft language for someone to make a motion, and then you all vote on each one of those items individually as required by law. And if the majority of you vote in favor that they've met their burden of proof and the standards, then you move on to the next one. You don't have to necessarily spend a lot of time on each one. It's just important that you verify for the record that you have covered all of the legally required criteria and standards of the ordinance. If on the flip side, the majority of you feel that they have not met their burden of proof on any one of these numerous standards, then that is cause for denial of the project. So that's the process that you'll be going through tonight if you're prepared to do that. And then as I said, I have drafted a set of mostly standard conditions of approval for completion of things like submitting the inspection fee, just how this is going to get carried through so the applicant knows what all the requirements are to get breaking ground, as well as a few to address certain issues like the issue of the removal of the existing unpermitted stream crossing. That's been discussed all through this process. The applicants have said they're going to remove the existing crossing, but we have, for a long time now, pointed out we're assuming that DEP has to issue a permit for that. You can't just go in and do that stream alteration, even to restore it, without getting approval by the DEP. So the applicant should address where that stands, and that is a draft condition of approval, as well as that easement for the stormwater retreatment basin on being on the survey plan, the subdivision plan, excuse me. Yep, I'll be giving out a copy if you're ready to review these when you get ready.
I think we are ready.
Okay.
While you're handing those out,
Yeah.
I will ask, we have 3 members who were here back on the 1st of March when we went through this. We also have Tyler Hutchinson, who was not at that meeting, but was at several others. And Tyler, I need to ask if you would be able, if you're comfortable voting on this evening. Have you looked at the videos and all that other kind of stuff?
Having watched the videos and reviewed the minutes, I feel comfortable voting this evening.
Okay. Do any of the other,
Get one, Brian.
any of the other board members have an issue with Brian voting this evening?
None.
Seeing none, does the applicant have a issue with Brian voting?
Brian or Tyler?
I like them
Yeah,
both.
Tyler. The bearded one. Does anybody have a problem with it? Okay, seeing none, Tyler, you will vote on this. Brian Lanoy, for your information, is an alternate and just joined us a couple of months ago, and so, but
You were
are,
tabling, weren't you? Were
Sorry?
you here when we tabled the first time?
Yes.
okay. And so, Brian, you're welcome to join in on any of the discussions, ask any questions. You just can't vote when this is all said and done.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay?
So John, there were just a couple of other, in this recent review, I just wanted to, the couple of items that I didn't mention was that the submissions included a grading plan for the house lots on figures 1 and 6. You may recall there was an issue, 2 of those lots have a lot of wetlands on them, and there was a concern with, making sure whoever buys those lots and develops them. So what we had proposed, and the applicant had agreed to in the preliminary approval, that for lots 6 and 7, they would submit a grading plan. And then if anybody wanted to depart from that engineered grading plan for those 2 lots, they could do so, but they'd have to bring an alternative grading plan to the board for approval. So it's somewhere in the record, but if it's gonna be part of the enforceable decision of the board, that needs to be clearly documented tonight in order for it to be enforceable. And then also, on a similar note, the homeowners association documents, they originally submitted one form, which is kind of a standard that's been used by other developers in the town. But since then, we've updated our ordinance to more clearly spell out what parts of that are enforceable by the town and what parts are just dealing with the homeowners association itself. So they did revise that, and it's somewhere in this record. But I just wanted to make sure that this decision tonight reflects the updated homeowners association document and not the prior one that had been submitted by the applicant. And then the last communication from Will Haskell gave a requirement for a modification of a spillway, and that I did not see reflected in the current version of the plans. So the question is, did they incorporate that last requirement of the peer reviewer for the modification of the design of the stormwater berm? I could not see in the plans where that was reflected, and you can ask the applicant to address that. And then finally, in the same light, the applicant at some point in the process submitted a document for the control of the erosion on each individual lot as they're developed. And again, that's somewhere in the record, but it needs to be clear that that's part of the approval that you, so that the code officer, if he goes out and he sees that someone has torn up a site and they don't have the proper erosion control, they can say, well, we don't need to do that. Well, he can say, here's the plan right from the planning board approval. He has the enforcement authority to do that.
Is there anything else?
No.
You sure? Okay, in that case, I have a question for you, George, you can look at it.
Yeah.
Is this what you're referring to with the?
That is what I was referring to. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the
Yeah.
diagram?
Yeah.
I did not see that.
Yeah, you want me to adjust that real, because I mentioned it in the cover letter, because on the original detail, there was like a leader that it said that 168.5, and the arrow itself was deleted, and then there was an elevation that showed the top of your water quality volume. And that liner is my impermeable barrier, which is what I've done for every under drain soil filter ever. I've seen those pressure treated berms put across like a giant wet pond or something that's your more of a your
Why
primary.
don't we continue that discussion? I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask George.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yep, that is the one.
I can pass that around, if you look at it while we start the talking. So I think what we're going to do then, George, is take this newest thing you gave
You
us,
wanna hook in?
Ooh, right on.
which is the subdivision review criteria, the second page of what George gave us, and go through this item by item, or is it preference to go ahead and get answers to George's questions now, and then do the individual paragraph?
I have a question. Are you proposing that we go through approval criteria in that if everything goes through, like, it's either approved or not approved right now? Or are we still going through review of the project?
Well, tonight we're gonna go through the criteria, to approve or to, my goal is to
Yeah.
approve or disapprove. So
Okay.
at some point in time, whether we have general discussion up front or not, we have to go through these, I don't know, 15, 20 individual items.
So my question to the board is, do we feel like we have everything that we need, easily accessible, to go through all of these approval criteria right now? Do we have the thing that he just brought up, adding to the site plan? Do we have all of the DEP and USACE consultation letters, permits?
Well, I think we can go through those. I mean, this is the time to have the discussion, to say.
Okay, so, I guess what am I trying to say? Do we need that before we can approve or not approve the project?
Well, he's hooking up to the computer to tell us if he's got it or not. So,
March first was the completeness review, so the next step has to be,
this substantive review.
which-
And if there's something that we don't, as we go through this, that's my question is, we wanna go through all the individual things George brought up first. The question about the Corps of Engineer, the DEP thing, the HOA thing, do you wanna do those now, up front, and then go through the individual, criteria?
I would say we get the unanswered question that George has, because if we don't get those answered, then there's no reason to be going through
Okay.
the review.
Okay. I'm good with that. So
That's my opinion.
I will try, George, you can jump in there, but, I will try to redo those, and you maybe, in fact, you could just kind of, George, go ahead and take them on. I've got some of them here, but if you wanna redo, you've got a complete list there, if you wanna go through the issues that you think we have remaining.
So again, right in the agenda notes, which have
And
been
one by
available,
one.
which have been
that-
available, the agenda
that
notes have been
is,
available to the
in this
applicants for
second
preparation
part.
for tonight's meeting.
Good.
So I would just let
At least I
Charlie
saw it
go
earlier
through
today, but
the items that have been raised and prepare their response.
Okay, and now, since they were going through very quickly, do you have the list of things that we want to discuss? Speaking of the applicant.
I believe these are them here.
Under town planner comments, maybe?
Yeah,
Go further down.
I think you're in the minutes, or?
Yeah,
No,
keep
no,
going.
you're in the, you're too
Right
far.
there, right there.
No, you're in the last part of it, right?
Town planner comments, table the application, the applicant has received.
This is on the, okay, sorry, you're right, yeah,
Yeah, this
so
is it.
that's it.
In addition to the 5 or 6 that George just read off, George, you're probably gonna have to.
Yes. I do
Provide
have- I
those
do
when we
have
get to
those,
that.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
So the first one is just the mentioning us of the tabling. The second is the applicant had received the required permit from the Army Corps. So yep, I went back and forth with them a couple times. All of their changes were, they requested that we add cofferdams on the inlet and outlet end of the stream crossing. We said we're gonna do it when it's dry, which is still the intention, and they just said, can you put those in just for extra precaution?
they said you had to do it when it was dry. Maybe they gave you 2 months.
Yes, yes, we've got that window to do it. So we know you're intending to do it when you're dry and still put in the cofferdams. So That was a couple note changes. You'll see that updated detail. And then the way they break apart their impervious areas versus, or disturbed areas versus the DEP's version is a little different. They only count, it's kind of, I think it makes more sense. They only count the actual pavement as your permanently disturbed area. Everything else is temporarily disturbed. Because technically all those banks create an upland that if they're around a stream, critters can come up and down those and still inhabit that. It's not uninhabitable, it's just, so the pavement is, so they just asked me to break those out a little bit more specifically.
So can we go back to number, sorry, is
Yeah.
it back and forth here?
Sure.
Okay, number two, can we see what, you submitted to the Army Corps?
It's included, their response is included. As
Yeah.
far as what was sent to them, it's just the plans that you're seeing there. It's the same plan set.
Which plans?
The big set,
No, they only needed to see the grading plan.
okay. Well, they list the set, the pages, right?
Yeah. So Heather got a copy of C05, 305, C102, and then pictures of the stream crossing. And then forms. And that's what I was talking about right there. That's her permanent wetland impacts are only your actual road service.
Okay, so all of this, we do not have any of this. Does the board feel like we need this as part of the final plan packet to review?
I definitely think you do. When I look at anybody, if I was a codes enforcement, I would want all that, a hard copy available to me, because I would be worried about an electronic version being lost or misplaced.
You have C305 and C102, which is
We just don't know what you submitted.
that's it.
I
C305 and
know now you're
C102.
showing us, but we don't have it, like,
You-
so what we're saying is we need to know what you submitted and what you received back from the Corps in our final plan packet.
What Charlie's saying is these, we have C305 and C102 are in our packet.
Yes, but I don't know that's what he submitted for this permit.
Why is that your
application.
prerogative?
Because we need to make sure that, like, all we got here is your email, your initial email to DP back in January. And then you said, you know, oh, by the way, we are also doing a stream crossing. That's all, we don't.
No, the stream
know
crossing, well, what I added to the DEP permit was that the under drain soil filter was within the 75-foot setback, so Will had asked me to include.
Let's stick to the Corps of Engineers.
Yeah,
right
Corps of
now.
Engineers, I have their approved permit that I included in that package, which is, lays out their rules and their review and everything that ever goes along with an Army Corps permit.
Because we'll see, he hasn't seen anything.
And another thing, is this, general permit 8 or 22 or both? Like, what is this, the project approved for? Like, the letter that we got back from the Corps is kind of confusing. I think it's both.
I think
General
it said
permit 8.
and.
Yes,
It says-
yes.
It says that they
Yes.
included the
There's
general
both.
permit in what you got back.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know, what does that look like, right there?
From Heather?
Yes, I think so.
The only thing that they said in the letter that it was available at the site versus a hard copy with the letter.
It says, please review the enclosed GPs carefully.
We verify that the activity is authorized under General Permit 8 and General Permit number 22.
Okay, and those are, do you have copies that are those
That's what this is.
right there?
This is my entire application to them.
That's the application. I
And
think,
and their response. Their response is the
Yeah.
first 2 pages. That's them. That's their DEP. This is your permit.
They're saying that the GP, it's under GP 8 and GP 22.
Yep.
and I think that is, I'm reading this, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. It says, please review the enclosed GPs, which were not enclosed in the copies we got. And then it says that you should tell your personnel, the contractor, to make sure you're doing that. So is there, that you're following those, and then in particular, there's 5 or 6 of them that are listed.
Right.
So, I think there's maybe 2 questions here that I'm trying to get through my mind. One is, can we get a copy of that?
You want a copy of the
letter,
general
but
permits?
the additional
Like the
information.
standard Army Corps, like
Yeah.
that's just there, you want me to,
I got you, and I think that where that becomes, this is Talbot's opinion, where that becomes important is, I can see you got your approval from the Corps, or whatever, authorization, whatever they call that. But I think to Alan's or somebody's comment, that it would be good, the code enforcement guy, who's ever gonna go out there, Merrill Palmer, Earl Palmer,
Yeah.
whoever. So, it would be good to know a couple things. One, you sent in those pictures. So what did you send them? Give us a copy of that, hard copy. And then, two, I guess either you could provide it or the code enforcement guy could look up GPs, whatever they are.
I mean, anybody who's inspecting should know what those
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I don't argue with that.
Yeah.
So make sure that he's comfortable, and Oral Palmer, they probably are. So the question is, what do we need for this evening? That's a question to the planning board.
It should be a relatively easy process for codes enforcement, whomever that is, whether it's a new person that comes in, to be able to look at a packet and see how it's complete. He shouldn't have to go, wait a minute, I'm reading a letter, and now I have got to go to this website and review these two permits. General permit 8 and 22 hard copy should be available. So you
Well-
can read this like a book.
I've never
There's
printed a
two
general
different
permit ever.
angles on this, there's two different aspects of it, okay? One is the ease of administration. The
True.
harder it is, the more documents, things get lost,
Mhm.
get overlooked. Secondly, the other question is it legally enforceable? And so, that's a federal regulation, and unless you make it part of your approval, then the applicant or contractor out there can say, you have no authority over that, that's Army Corps of Engineers.
Well, but the enforcement may be, but if they're not following that, if they're doing something that's different in this, or the DE permit, or the historical permit, then the code enforcement guy can go to the Corps and say they're in violation of your permit, and then the Corps would be the enforcement of it.
That's correct.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
I'm just looking for ease of access for information if somebody questions something.
Yeah, I guess just for context, this is the general permit. It's a 51-page document. It's a generic, this is for everybody. I've never printed this off ever.
That's 15 and 22, or
That's-
whatever,
yeah.
that's all. of them.
Yeah, this is all of them. So here is your general permits.
Does that have all the conditions that contractors have to follow?
Yeah.
I think he just rolled past them.
Should that not be made available to the board as well as to the contractors who are going to be doing the project?
It
Well,
certainly
the
is.
Corps tells him he has to send it, he has to make sure his contractors are notified of this.
Yeah.
Can you just scroll to page, is that 5 right there? Yep, okay. That's what she specifically says in her letter, and then there's a couple of numbers that she refers to, yeah, so. My thought here is that, it would just, it's not, like you said, it's not that hard to show what you submitted to the agencies and what you received back in the file. Yes, it's not completely we're not the Corps, we're not the DEP, but we are reviewing this project, and it is part of the ordinance that we do review it
Mhm.
for these aspects, so that's, that's all I'm saying. I can see it on your screen, you obviously submitted stuff, but we don't know what you submitted.
We're not certainly questioning the Army Corps.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
not
I-
at all. Not
Yeah,
at
I
all.
guess I'm curious to what end,
Yeah.
to what ends. Because you do have all the same material that they have. It's just packaged differently. So I mean, all I sent them was 4 pages that you saw. You have that.
We don't have that, I think, as part of the.
You do.
We have and maybe I'm wrong, we have their response to you, and then we get into DEP stuff in the package you submitted. Am I wrong? Attachment A is
Right.
simply the letter back and forth.
Yeah, that letter.
We don't have.
The full general permit. No, I've never printed that
But,
off
no,
before.
two questions. You showed, and maybe I'm on the wrong thing, you showed some PDFs and pictures
Yeah.
on that. Is
Yeah.
that part of the Corps',
Those PDFs are, I did remove them from the PDF in the back of the application because you have them again in the plan set. So I wasn't gonna print those again.
I think the easy solution to this is we print, somehow we get, I'm comfortable with printing those couple of pages there of emails where you had the PDFs attached to them, because they would correspond to the plan set that we do have.
And even if we get them electronically, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
that-
We can print them.
that's fine.
He can
So-
just-
Printing is not the issue.
Forward this.
The issue is proper documentation of the record of this meeting
Right.
and this
So-
process.
Right.
Remember this, that you guys did, a couple of these, this is kind of what I'm looking for, final, the final. So what we need to review, things have changed since October 2022,
A few things.
right? But in this, you did include consultation, so it's not like it's out of, it's weird.
What do you mean consultation?
You included consultation letters, like,
Yeah, like what I sent to
historical-
all those guys. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this is just another one of those,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
So
it would
I'm
just
good-
make it easier,
Yeah.
and for the CEO,
So I'm good with what George, I'm good with what George said, which is send us, you know, that back and forth, that you had the letter saying you're authorized. You sent, what did she respond to, that stuff you're scanning, you're flipping through quickly now? And send us that, and then, that's your application with, you know, the follow-up discussion, and then we have the authorization letter. And I'm comfortable whether the code guy is happy with it in that format, or we print it out for them at this point. Now, if there's, I guess I'm trying to figure out where we, trying to keep this thing moving, at the same token, making sure we've got all our bases covered.
yeah.
All right, everybody else
Yeah.
okay with that comment?
Yes.
So I think what I said was, email that, what you got up there, to George, and if you don't mind sending the 51, whatever it is there,
You want me to download the general permit for you?
to what?
You want me to include the general permit?
It just save us
Sure.
time and effort.
Yep.
We
If you
can
could
end
just
this- we
send
can end the
all of the
discussion.
documentation relating to
Yeah.
the application for the Army Corps, that would be part of the public record.
The CEO may have memorized that for all I know, he's a smart guy, but just in case. So that just makes it, and then down the road, we don't get into discussion with, you know, your guys on site, and he says you didn't do number 13E, and everybody says, what the hell was that? And-
Yep.
Okay.
Works.
Keep this thing going.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Well said there, John.
We do too many of these, I'm not sure. Okay, so then, what is the next thing that we are discussing? What was there, we need to discuss that, excuse me?
Stormwater easement, maybe? I'm not following the.
Well, maybe,
the order.
where are we gonna go down?
Oh,
I
okay,
think
yeah,
that, Will Haskell,
Now we're going
they're
down to,
completely satisfied, except that one thing that you brought up, George,
Yeah,
that we might wanna talk about now.
I can highlight that for you.
is that not on the plans?
It is on the plans.
I mean, I saw that, and maybe I just didn't understand it.
Oops.
I saw liners and I saw
What is
clay
he asking
liners.
for again? Oh, the pond?
Yeah, the
traffic
way
lighting.
it was worded, and I'll show you the old one and the new one, so maybe you can understand what happened here. Plan set, that was C30.
And this is not on the plan set, you,
It is. The new one's in your plan set.
okay, so we've got that.
303?
303 is that what it is?
Yeah, the,
Yeah. So
yeah, I
look,
think it's 303.
if you look up here, you see how there's this 10-foot wide spillway equals 168.5, and it looks like the arrow went to here. That should have been removed. 'Cause if you look over here, top of water quality water quality volume storage is 168.5, and that correlates with the top of the liner, which is your impermeable layer.
What date is that set?
What's that?
What's the date on that? Because what I have does not show that,
Does not show which.
that arrow.
Exactly, I got rid of them.
Oh,
So that's what I'm saying. I cleaned that up.
Oh.
So that was my response to the peer review
Oh,
comment, was getting rid of that arrow because I saw where the confusion could be. So that's an old set, and then I removed that detail. He wanted to put a. You can put a. I've seen it on like wet ponds where they bury a pressure treated piece of wood in it to control your elevation across it.
so what do you think about that, George? Does that?
Well, he's saying he's not gonna follow the recommendations of the peer reviewer.
I'm not gonna put a pressure treated piece of wood in.
which
I
is
did a
what the
liner.
peer reviewer has said is needed.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, what, my question is, what are you doing?
So see that elevation where he's got the water line on the left there?
Yep.
That now is the liner, right? The liner, the impermeable barrier that we're looking for that's gonna control this water volume is your liner. Rather than burying a piece of pressure treated underneath
So-
that liner.
My suggestion would be, you should have gone to Goral Palmer, where you're not gonna do what he's saying,
Sure,
and you should have cleared it with him before coming to this meeting.
sure.
What is the reason not to do, do you not agree with that as an engineer, or what?
It's constructability. I've seen it done. It's another point of, it's a piece of wood buried instead of a piece of plastic buried. So I mean, wood has a little bit more of a finite life to it. I mean, you look at any of the treatment ponds that I've done in the area. I mean, Bowie Hill has 2 of these and none of them have pressure
Is it
treated.
more expense to do it this way?
Just a pain.
Okay.
What about the concrete option?
You could pour concrete across the top of it too. Again, you're pumping in concrete rather than just running a liner, and
But who's maintaining it in the end of the day, at the end of the day?
that's on homeowners.
Yeah.
This is the fire pond we're talking about.
No, this is for the underdrain soil filter.
This is the stormwater treatment basin.
That little
Okay,
pond.
303 is the fire pond, wasn't it?
No. We
No, this is a soil filter, this is the,
I
stormwater.
thought this was fire pond, but page 303 looks to me like the fire pond.
304 is the fire pond.
They both look the same.
Oh,
Okay. Well, the location is.
yeah, they look similar, but they're not.
yeah.
That's the fire pond, right?
No.
Both couple holes in the
That's
ground.
stormwater.
Okay, I get you. Okay.
So I guess, so this is a question that actually for the board. So what we are saying is that the peer reviewer came back and had a comment, recommendation for the engineer. The engineer came back and said pretty much they don't wanna do that.
I just thought he misunderstood where my elevation was. I didn't realize that he wanted a piece of wood there. I thought he was just saying, this is how we do it. Put the water quality volume, see that little arrow with the little water level next to it, that little upside down triangle?
Yep.
So you'll see mine, instead of being at the top of the pressure treated, is at the top of the liner. Which before, I could see this having caused confusion.
Okay, so do you think what your edits that you made to this might have,
I would hope, I've done this.
has he?
Over
has he
3
seen
dozen
it? So,
times.
okay, so I think that might be what you were getting at. So
Okay.
send this, or whoever, are we?
Well, that'd
talking
be, yeah, let's just pause for a second. Personally, I've never seen a piece of wood in a spillway, but I come from 6 states over. So, a couple of questions. And I'd like to keep this moving to a decision, yay or nay. Are you willing to do the piece of wood as it's recommended?
Sure.
That's not what's recommended. It's wood or concrete.
Wood
Wood
or
or, well,
concrete?
okay, I'm sorry, wood
Sure.
or concrete?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I think wood's more effective than concrete in this scenario, just because you'll take that plastic. What you do is, and I've seen them built. I have seen them built, where you put a piece of pressure treated, and then the liner will come up and over that piece of pressure treated and tie back in on the other side of the underneath the riprap.
If I'm buying it as a homeowner, I don't agree with that. I think the concrete is more,
I've never seen someone make a concrete spillway.
I'm just saying.
Well, I think, yeah, our engineer, if we're gonna follow the engineer's guidance, he gave them the option.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna get into designing, it's kind of engineer versus engineer.
It is, and I didn't realize this was I honestly, I've done 3 dozen underdrain soil filters in my life, and never have I ever put that piece of pressure treated in there. I've seen it done. I just figured it was a preference, because you can, the reasoning behind the pressure treated is that you can perfectly control that elevation, right? So in order to guarantee that it's a sheet flow coming out of there, you can set that piece of pressure treated at a perfectly level spot, and now that flow is evenly distributed across wherever it's going, right? And hydraulically, you're saying, okay, the riprap, you can put riprap up to that now, right? So your riprap's still there, and once you go over it, you have free flow. Where you're using the liner, what you're saying is the flow going through that riprap, the riprap's slowing it down negligibly, right? Like during a water quality storm, like the storm that's gonna push water over the top of this at any significant rate is a 25 to 100 year storm, which is a significant amount of water. So at that point, what's going through that riprap, the riprap's not gonna choke that back.
Well,
right?
I think, in an effort to keep this going to a decision one way or another, I can hear what you're saying. and if you are willing to follow the engineer's recommendation rather than back
Sure.
and forth.
Sure. If he wants to be pressure treated in there, I
Now, the
will.
question would be, how can we make sure that is then included in all, whether it's a condition of approval, and we reference, I can't remember their names.
Yes, it will be a change to the plan, so we need to put it into the conditions of
Yeah,
approval.
I
When
think
we
there's gonna
get
be a
there.
couple of these,
When
so
we
like
get
we'll
there.
mark that as a.
Sure.
And that would keep it going.
Yep.
I appreciate your comment, but I think we just need to follow what our engineers recommended.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next issue up there? What is next?
There's the down this packet, so I can stop flipping around.
And maybe DEP, although,
Yeah, the part about the stormwater permit, that's news to me, George, because there was a conversation earlier on where you guys had asked me to show the impacts of all the lots being graded, and then that put us over the 5 acres of impact. But then when you bring back down and say, no, well, that's not what we're impacting as part of this project. So that's what, if somebody buys the lot and they build on it, that's their prerogative. So there was a little bit of confusion there, but I thought that was resolved in terms of we didn't go over 5 acres of impacts.
so are you still under PBR?
Yeah.
Um,
No, I got the PBR.
Yes,
I have a PBR.
So
But
you
this
are-
is implying a stormwater permit, which we are not in a stormwater permit. That's over 13 lots and 5 acres of disturbance. And like I said, originally, when the peer reviewer first got this, there was 5 acres of disturbance because I had showed that grading going way up and beyond to the right. I like flattened out the lots. But that's not.
So are you
Reality.
asserting tonight that there is no requirement for a DEP stormwater permit?
Yeah, we have the PBR. That was our DEP. Yeah, so
So-
there you go. Yeah, he said they've since addressed this issue in their plans, and the peer reviewer is satisfied that the plans meet the Durham standards, which are the same as DEP. So in addition to the stream crossing, stormwater management plans.
That's from Will,
Yeah,
That's my summary of Will's.
but what he said, but I mean, I'm assuming your summary is
Yeah.
accurate.
okay, so we've got that,
yeah, so, yeah.
do you wanna talk any more about that, George?
Nope.
Okay. Similar to the USACE, we have emails from DP saying that, sounds like you have a PBR. But then you submitted the stream crossing application in May to
Mhm.
them. What did you get back from them after that?
That was the whole conversation right there, I think.
They never responded to your application for a stream crossing?
No, they did.
So if you look at May 16th. It's from Alexis, I
And your question is what?
think. You submitted an application for stream crossing to the DEP.
Yep.
And what did you get back from, what did the DEP?
Was it
give you
Alexis?
back? The address is dep.pbr notification. But yeah, it looks like Alexis helped you.
That's right.
Is that Amazon's Alexis?
Alexis. Alexis.
Alexa.
Alexis,
do
give
we need
me
a
my
permit?
DEP permit.
I don't wonder she never
Should give you an
responds.
answer.
Yeah, she never responds.
So the initial permit was just the stream crossing permit. That is the DEP PBR. Is for the stream crossing.
No.
Good morning attaches an application for a stream crossing in Durham.
No, I think you submitted the original application for the PBR back in February.
May 16th, 2022.
And then we talked about the stream crossing, and then you were gonna talk to the DP about that.
So this conversation right here says, on May 16th, 2022, I said attaches the application for a stream crossing in Durham. I'm included Alexis, and then Alexis is my project manager saying,
Oh, I see what you're saying, so
I will
she wrapped
update-
it all in
Yeah,
to the PBR.
it's all one PBR.
Okay.
So all that was missing on that PBR was that there was a form, right, that there was this stream crossing box that didn't need to be checked.
Okay, so nothing additional, no additional like permit needs or from her, from them?
You didn't get anything from her that says you have to submit something else?
No. No, she just said, I'll update your permit, note, duly noted. No
Okay.
additional fee required, I'll update the existing PBR to reflect the under drain soil filter.
So
So there was
if we're
this-
good with that one, so let's kind of get back to, we were kind of going down a list of George's comments.
John,
I'm sorry,
Oh.
so we were talking about the soil filter, but then we're also removing a stream crossing, right?
The stream crossing was the original permit. That was, I went back and adjusted it. So May 16th, they said you need a DEP permit. I went and got the PBR for the stream crossing, and then there was a comment saying, well, your under drain soil filter is within those setbacks. You need to include that.
Let's stop here a second. Let's get back on the list of things, because right now we should be talking about, later on, we'll get back to DEP. So we jump from stream crossing, which is the bullet we should be talking on.
Yep.
And let's get back to that. And so kind of, are there what are the issues on stream crossing? And we'll get back to your concern there, but I just.
You were going there. Yes, so you are proposing a removal of a stream and impacts to crossing as well. All of that is included in that PBR, is that what you're saying?
That's what I told them, yep. I
Okay.
said, hey, I'm taking it out, putting a new one in. That's actually my email to Heather was, Heather, this is the first project that I can say that we are actually helping the environment rather than hurting it.
Okay.
We're removing a terrible stream crossing, replacing it with a proper one. We're taking a defunct gravel pit and building a few houses on it and vegetating it.
Okay, so the only thing I would ask, and the board, you let me know if you agree, is like the USACE, if we could see what you got back, the permit, the,
You don't.
whatever that, whatever.
You don't get anything back from them.
No, what you just showed on your screen, or was that your application?
That's my
That's
conversation,
the
that's my
email
application.
Oh, okay, so it's just this email that you get back?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is part of the public record because he's showing it to you tonight. That's part of the public
And he
record.
provided it. That was in the packet he provided.
Yeah.
That
That
email.
email?
No.
Yeah, that,
Yeah,
We
these
got the
emails.
email, but we did not see the application.
The application was included in an earlier package.
it was, I think,
Oh,
last,
okay,
last month.
okay, okay, so that's part of the, so
Yeah.
if that could be included in this packet thing, you know, that you're talking
Mhm.
about, would be good. All right, I rest on the stream crossing.
I do not.
Okay,
The only thing that I did not see was instructions to take out the existing. I did not see that in the plans. Can we put a flip on the plans, somehow note whatever, to remove the stream crossing? Because we do not, if I'm wrong, correct me, we do not want you to leave the existing stream crossing in there, which will inhibit or change flow.
Right.
So to me, that's a simple remove the existing stream crossing.
Is that not on the grading plan notes?
I didn't see it. If it is, show me.
Oh, cause I know we've had that conversation. And I know I've included that in,
If it is, then I'll withdraw my comment.
let's see.
And I almost think it was long ago, but it's not now.
I wouldn't have removed it.
So yeah, if it's in there, just show it. Show
Okay.
us.
Okay, carry on, I'll find that while we're
Well-
talking here.
It's hard to carry on without you.
I'm a great
I mean, we
multitasker.
can make a whole boatload of decisions that you're gonna do.
That's,
We would like-
yeah,
we would
that's
like the
fair, that's
commissioner
fair,
to-
hold. That's C-101, we don't care about that.
That's what you wanted on there, right? Was some, no, you can take it
If you
out.
want it to be enforceable, it has to be part of your decision-making tonight,
Yeah.
documentable. Matter of fact, while he's looking for that, I'm gonna distribute, this is from the, to kind of give you an indication of why I'm pushing some of these issues. This is from the Maine Municipal Association Manual for Planning Boards, produced by their legal department. And this is with respect to enforceability of planning board decisions. One part of their long manual.
By the way, I think that note should be on this final subdivision plan, if anywhere, right? I mean, that's the one that's really getting
You're
recorded.
talking about the recordable plat thing?
Yeah.
Last page?
Yeah, I think the remove.
I didn't see it.
No, I know, but if it's not, then I think that's where we add it.
That makes the most sense because it's recordable.
Yeah, exactly.
The point being that the
The last.
code is, the code is.
So, from the MMA manual, conditions of approval, they wrote, planning board has inherent authority to attach conditions to its approval of an application, and then they give a bunch of court cases supporting that, and down below it says, and I highlighted it, any conditions which the board wants to impose on the applicant's project must be clearly stated in its decision and on the face of any plan to be recorded to ensure their enforceability.
To be recorded, so then it has to be the recorded plat piece. I don't see it, Mr. Burnham, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, we should put it on that erosion, that recorded plan.
So that would be a condition of approval to
Yep.
remove the existing crossing.
Yep. Huh.
That's all I've got.
We've
on-
definitely talked about it a lot.
Well, we have, that's why it's disappointing it's
certainly
not there.
But
Yep.
talking about it is
No, I hear ya.
not enforceable.
I hear you.
Okay, so stream crossings, yes, no, going, gone. Okay, next one is fire pond. And the chief, I think, in my mind, we are, well, actually, I do have a comment on that. Anybody else have any comments? Chief's happy with it, hydrologic.
So I know these are broken out, then do you wanna talk about the easement now or later?
We can talk about the easement, we can talk about easements in general. Okay.
Like with the fire pond, I mean,
Yeah.
in relation, okay, so that's just the only thing that I was to talk about and wonder about. I think we need the easement shown.
It's in the open space, so you won't, that's,
The fire department doesn't necessarily have the authority to go in, and you reference it on that,
it's on,
recorded plan.
yeah, it's on the recorded plan.
But here's my problem with three easements. One is, it's not well defined, it just says there's a easement fire department, forget what exactly.
No, it's pinned. We put pins in,
You've defined it, so that what I see there is fire pond, proposed fire pond area and pond access for easement for town. I don't,
see the bearings and eastings on the N 54, 43, 24, 159.97 feet,
I probably could if I could see them.
L 29.
So you have that easement is defined on
Yeah,
this.
it's
Okay.
pinned. Yeah, we pinned it.
And then is this, then a follow-up question, so is that the same for the proposed road easement? The time. comes-
Nobody owns that. Right. I don't know how that gets conveyed. That's just a paper street,
Well, it has to be an
essentially.
easement, I think.
Yeah.
Because if you guys die and go away.
Yeah, it's a proposed easement reserved for potential future
And I
street.
think this should not say proposed. When it goes for recording, make sure we get rid, because it's no longer, it can't be proposed, it has to be the real
It's
thing.
a requirement.
Yeah, right. It's a good point.
So just blank that out, but I think we need to know,
Yeah.
I mean, you've got L 33, L 32,
Yeah.
and are those usable to define that, better define that easement?
Both those easements are, yeah, the northings and bearings are there.
Okay.
Right.
That was my question.
Yeah, all the northings and eastings are there.
Let's just go ahead, and if recording the plan makes that a legitimate easement for the fire department to get in there and do that, if they have to, I mean, I
Sure.
think hopefully the homeowners association will not make that necessary, that there will never be a fire in there.
Sure.
So do we need a note on here that, it is the homeowners association's responsibility to,
It's in the homeowners
That's-
association bylaws.
so we don't need a update?
No, I just
the plan?
wanted to be clear for the record
Yes,
that is the homeowners association's
Well, it's also on there.
we
responsibility.
have the easement,
We have, the
we
town
have the
has an
easement
easement, so
and-
they can use it,
Okay.
but they're not responsible for maintaining it.
okay.
It does, but it is on the, I'm gonna call it recorded plat for, the number 11 on the notes,
Uh-huh.
says the Deer Creek crossing shall remain private and be owned and maintained, parentheses, along with the fire
Oh,
pond
I
and open
see, now I
space
see
by
that,
by
along
an
with the
association.
fire pond, yeah.
So that
Yeah.
particular thing is on there.
Okay, I didn't see that, so
Yep.
it's on there.
But my question is, you have easements of record. Should you put a reference in there, that easements of record to
Right.
these two easements?
They're not easements of record yet.
but they, when they record, so at this point, they're, so when you record it, they're not easements of record,
Not until it gets recorded.
until it's recorded, okay.
That is, I'm with you.
I'm trying to figure out
I'm
a
with you.
way that
If you're recording it, you would think you'd,
he may, okay, so I get that's probably some legal BS.
Yeah.
But, not that you're giving it to me, but it's
Yeah.
a legal requirement.
yeah.
Can we just make a note that says, maybe it's already in there, maybe I just read it, the number 11. There is no comment to the future easement.
There is. Well, it's on the plan itself.
No, it's on the plan, but should we just put a note there saying that
The future road,
it's not being maintained because it doesn't exist?
Right.
Forget it. Talk myself out of it. Okay, we're done with fire pond.
Will you take all of those for me from now on?
What's that?
Will you talk all these points for me?
I talk to myself all the
Yeah,
time.
take care of this for me.
Because nobody else listens. So fire pond, stormwater treatment basement. And Juliet already brought up the easement.
Yes.
I'm sorry, let's go back to the fire pond one more. I was so
Yeah.
excited. On all of these, these two ponds, I see an outlet. I don't see where the outlet goes.
What do you mean?
What is it, the channel? If-
No channel. That's the whole idea, that you're sheet flowing it. So it's just gonna run over the ground as a non-channelized flow for 100 feet.
And I don't have the topography in front of me. Here's my question, it's not gonna go back on homeowners' lots.
No.
So
Never.
it's flowing to whatever.
Yes.
So it is gonna flow into the neighbors' lots.
It's gonna be flowing into the stream. There's a stream that runs out back here that everything dumps right into that stream pretty quickly.
Okay, that answers my question.
Yep.
And is that the same with the
Yeah.
detention pond?
Yep.
Okay, so then the off-site easement.
Yep. I gotta add that. I thought I had sent that to our man the surveyor. Stormwater easement on Dean's property.
So we don't have a defined easement, because that would have to go in, be recorded as an easement separately, because you can't show it on your plat, or you would just show it as, I don't know what you would show, off-site, whatever it may be. I just wanna make sure we capture all these, that, you know, that we have the easement documents.
yep.
What's his name?
Was it pinned?
Who's the surveyor?
Austin?
Hal?
Cornerstone.
Who have you been sending the checks to?
Jan.
Yes.
Jan.
Yes.
Do you have any comments or?
So the easement has to be on Dean's property,
Yep.
his own.
Yeah.
And does it show it flowing on, there's two parts, your property, then it crosses the line, so there's gotta be an easement on the, whatever, do you show the flow of that on
Oh, I do
storm
have
drains?
it.
It says future.
On Dean's property, I don't wanna, whoever the neighbor is, I don't care who it is, but
Proposed stormwater maintenance easement. So it's there.
what sheet are you on?
Oh, this is the subdivision plot.
The last page there, whatever.
I'm wondering if I didn't include the
Where are
right
you?
draft for you guys,
Tell me
sorry.
again.
This is what Jan sent recently,
Oh, I see.
or not recently, this was ages ago.
And you didn't put it on the plan.
I just included his subdivision plat, so I didn't make a new subdivision plat. Yeah, it's not there.
I haven't seen on anything we have.
Yep, sorry, this one's from Jan. So that's easy enough, and I think I told him to do the performance guarantee thing too.
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot. Well, that's what it's gonna look like, guys.
It's
Proposed stormwater maintenance easement.
It don't matter to me as long as you got they have, you know, no
Yeah.
issue down the road if
Yeah,
somebody has to go in there and fix it.
yep,
And it works, that it's the right volume and all that stuff.
yep.
Okay, so that's a condition, if we get to approval, that could be a condition of approval. So we're moving on from there to conditional agreement. So if it's approved, it has to be on your final plan. Does anybody have any problems with, as George described, if they need it, they would come in, tell us how much dollar value they think they have left, either we agree or Will Haskins can confirm, and they have to do whatever they're gonna do, leave money behind or whatever. But we give them, I guess, give them the permission to come in somewhere down the road.
Or finish all the infrastructure.
Yeah, either it's all done or, and I think you've already written that one up.
So it just needs to be added as a note, right?
It does need to be on the plan.
With the revised, updated version, I do have a note
Yeah.
that has to be added.
Okay, so we're all in agreement, that's, okay, we can move on from that one. Okay,
Complete packet.
okay, we wanna beat that horse, are we
We
content?
talked about it already, right?
Yeah,
Everyone agreed?
that horse is
Yeah.
beat, we just gotta make sure what we ask you to send us, you send us.
Yep.
And then the stormwater permit,
Yeah, I thought we sorted that out.
I'm asking, I guess, a question, are we good with?
I mean, we heard from Charlie that there is no requirement for a stormwater permit for this project. Goral Palmer, we didn't have any.
Laurel Palmer has said that their plan meets the appendix for erosion and sedimentation and stormwater. So I think we're good on that
Yeah,
one.
I think so too. Okay.
Okay, moving on, then the next one, I think we're back to the same thing, right?
All right, I get it. We'll put the easement on there.
So that's the easement on the adjoining property. Okay, so I got ahead of myself, so this talks about the fire pond easement. So, I guess on the fire pond, you get rid of proposed when it's finally recorded. On the road, I think you do leave it though, because it's not an
Right.
existing road.
Right.
And you,
Or we just say future right of way rather than proposed, 'cause it's not even proposed, right? Just kind of like a.
yeah, however you wanna say it.
Yeah, okay.
But it's on there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, it's not a future easement, it's a future road. An easement, the easement has to
Yeah,
exist.
right. Easement's there. Okay, I'm with you.
And then it's for a future road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And are we good then with the fact that the homeowners are responsible for water and all that other stuff? Is that clearly documented somewhere? I'm on the bullet on the page 7, I don't know if you guys have this page 7, but Russ, that subdivision recording plan does include an easement for the fire pond, which we talked about.
Yeah.
And that the homeowners association is responsible. I think it says fire
Yeah.
protection, does it say stormwater in that note?
Do
Because if
we-
it's not somewhere, some owner's gonna come up and why do I have to pay for that sucker?
Do we review the HOAs?
It's part of the record.
Yeah.
So, and let me just clarify that. So, what we did was, rather than having the board go through these legal documents, we had the town attorney, I worked with Jack Conway to draft up a format that can be used, that meets the legal requirements for the town attorney. We provide that to applicants, and we say, if you use this, you're good to go. If you want to change it, you have Jack Conway review it. So they initially just submitted their own idea of a homeowner's document, which didn't address the town issues. Subsequently, I provided them with that template and said, you need to use this or get a review by the town attorney. So we do have that as part of the public record. Unfortunately, we don't have a complete package tonight for you to be able to look at that document.
But we're gonna look at it as part of the review somewhat, right? Maybe make sure that everything we're
If it's
talking
important
about-
to you, you wanna look through it, you should have it.
Yeah, I'm not sure, personal opinion, I'm not sure we need to, if
Yeah.
they're following the
You've s-
attorney's.
Yeah.
Right,
Guidance, I'm not.
I've given you this. This is the declaration, I believe, from the towns. This is the towns.
No, that's not.
This
it.
isn't the towns. This is the first
No,
one I gave
That
you.
was the first
This is
one
the
you
first
gave
one.
us, which doesn't meet the town's legal
Gotcha.
requirements.
Here's yet another conditional approval that you, if you're amenable to doing this, you follow the town's.
See, if we ever get into an enforcement action, we can't go in and find files on his computer.
right.
Right.
That's the problem.
Exactly,
Right.
yes.
Okay, so moving off that dead horse, can we just make that
So
a,
many
George, this is the
components.
one. This is the one that,
That's the
so
one.
this was included in the,
It was H,
It's pen- that's been H, yep.
In the November 22nd.
George is in the machine.
So that would be a
It's
condition
done.
of, here's my thought for you though, is I don't know off the top of my head if that includes, we've told you to put in there that they have to maintain the road, and that may already be in there, because we did
That's
that
it,
fire
that's
road.
it.
But the fire pond and the
That's in there as
storm
well.
drainage is all, we covered all that stuff in it?
Mhm.
It is.
Okay? Okay,
Yes, what I was thinking.
then I'm good with that one, whatever that bullet is. And then I think, George, we covered your town planner comments on the planning board packet, but you had, I think we need to have you go back over the other issues that you listed.
Okay, we've addressed the easement for the storm basin, the grading plan for house lots, figure 1, lots 6 and 7 layout was in an earlier submittal. It's not part of the packet that's presented for you tonight so
Need to
we'll go to
include
the
it.
applicant, where is this document, can you show the board what it is, and they can incorporate it into the record.
Do you have that? Show it to us and forward it on, and then,
These are, well, you've seen this. Everything we're talking about, you guys have seen, it's just a
Yes.
matter of,
putting it in one place or getting it to us, and, is it in the package you provided that we just? I
at
didn't
one
see it.
point, no, at some point, I didn't reprint everything, that was kind of the, I thought, my understanding when we left was that I was giving you the whole plan set, and then George and I talked at the end, he's like, oh, if you can show it in the computer, then, and I said, that sounds way better than printing off
For
everything.
today, but I mean, if we can,
That's not, I said, if you're not willing to put together a packet, at least bring in your
See, that's
computer.
selective hearing at its finest, I'm like, oh, sweet, he said computer.
okay, hey, gentlemen, let's move on to, the Cubs
So
started at
again,
8:20,
again,
so,
we're just saying we wanna include it
Yeah.
in that packet.
yes, so.
In order to make it enforceable.
Yes, so if you will include that, we'll make it a condition of approval that, George, I'm sorry, it's lots 6 and 7? The individual
Figure
lot grading plans.
Lot
for-
grading plan.
Is it 6 and 7?
Well, that's what I'm asking. I don't know if
Lots.
that's-
6.
Was 2 lots, I think.
6 and 7.
Okay.
Let's see, what
What else did I miss, George?
We've addressed the removal of the existing stream crossing, it was included in the DEP, and they're gonna get us the documentation of that. We've done the conditional agreement, the updated homeowners association we just referred to, and I do have that listed in the draft conditions of approval that you will go
Okay.
through, and the specific reference to it. The riprap spillway, they've agreed tonight they're gonna do that. And then the lot erosion control plan, like the figure 1, is somewhere in the record, but if you want it to be enforceable, it should be presented to you tonight.
I think we said it'd make that a condition of approval.
Specifically,
Which one was that?
the lot erosion control plan from the DEP manual that you submitted as a basis for saying you
Yep.
you need that standard.
Now, did I just do that as, I think that's just a note, isn't it just, that I just
No,
said,
you
I put
submitted-
an actual plan
you
together for that?
submitted an actual schematic.
Which is
Oh,
different,
yes.
which is different than lot 6 and 7 grading plan.
It
Every
is.
lot would have to meet the erosion
Yeah.
sedimentation
Yeah.
controls.
Okay, is there anything else that, before we get into the individual, whatever you call them there?
Findings.
Any,
Finding of facts.
thank you, sir. That's what we moved to.
Just just a quick question. I know I'm way behind in all of this, but how did open space end up on lot 8? Is there any way to get that out of there?
The word?
No, the property line, the open space portion of it. Sorry, I'm way behind on all of this. I should, but there's a little section that ends up.
Oh, that's not, see, that dashed line isn't the open space line. That's a setback. That's the 100-foot stream setback. I understand the confusion.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Are we good on that one?
Yep.
Can you show me though? I wanna see what he's
What are you talking about? See that dashed line that crosses the corner right there? Oops,
Can you
sorry,
zoom in a
I'm
little bit?
attempting.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's not the open space line. that's the 100-foot stream setback.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Where is the open space line?
Everything that's outside of the property line.
Oh, yeah.
And so does each individual homeowner get to choose where they access their lot from?
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at lot 11 for a second. Would they have trouble if they wanted to access it from the north
Like this area right here.
west side?
Well, they don't get to choose it if it doesn't work. I mean,
Yeah, they
have to-
can't.
they have
Yeah,
to
they
show
can't go
that it
blowing through
works.
wetlands.
So, okay, you're not telling them where they have to put it.
They have a building envelope, so they gotta get their building inside of that envelope.
And the code enforcement guy will ensure they haven't crossed into wetlands or they're not in the building setbacks and all that stuff.
So their building envelope is really
Yeah,
kind of
where I
just
got
that.
these. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a setback from, is that a stream? What is that in the middle of the lot?
It's a wetland.
It's a little wetland.
Yeah.
And that's the stream setback. The stream starts here. This is where it began to be classified as a stream.
So how come there wouldn't be setbacks on the, let's just call it the east and west side of that?
So there you go.
So the stream goes north to south? Let's just say,
Yep,
plan is north.
yep.
Why wouldn't there be setbacks on the east and west side of the stream?
That's what these are. See that dashed line there?
Yeah, I'm looking at, I'm just gonna point right here.
Oh,
That's not a stream.
No, it's
flowing the other way.
That's the wetland.
flowing south
to north. Stream was where it says S, the black line.
Yeah, that's where the stream starts, right here.
Oh, right here.
And it
Okay,
goes that way.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions before we move into the individual findings of fact?
There you go.
I'm
Thanks,
just
sir.
gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
Okay, then, I guess George gave us a new handout. We'll wait a second for Julie. Is there any other questions from the other folks?
Add pressure treated spillway, lot erosion control plan per lot. You want a whole copy of the HOA from the sounds of it, right? You guys want me to forward you the HOA again?
No, we have it, and I have it referenced in the note, in the file.
If it hasn't changed,
So we're good. We're
So-
good.
But you do want me to send you the figures again for lots one?
Yes, that we need. Figure 1, lot grading plan, as well as the lot erosion and sedimentation control plan. I mean, we have it as part of the record.
Yeah,
The question is it referenced in the document that the board is gonna be approving tonight? Otherwise, it's just information that you submitted during the review process and it's not enforceable.
Okay,
oh,
so the answer
it's,
is yes, we want you to send that to us.
so how's that different than the HOA one? I guess that, just from an understanding
Because
standpoint.
in the document that we're gonna be reviewing next, I referenced that by specific, and this is not referenced in anything that's in this document that we're gonna look at. And it needs to be.
Okay.
And I don't, it may not be the right, I'll talk offline, you take a look at the issue of affordable housing and accessory units and all that other stuff as it reflects on HOAs. And
Yeah, right.
I'll end my discussion at that point. So, moving on to the very first, whatever the hell it was, finding of fact. Subdivision route, so this is page 2, I guess, of what George, the last handout that George gave us this evening, folks. So-
Before you jump into that, John, can I just summarize the first part of it?
Okay,
So part A of your decision document tonight is a description of the project, basically came out of their project narrative. Part B is a listing of the specific submissions on which you're basing your decision. Like the Army Corps permit referenced the plans that they submitted, here's what you are, and I have put in the final subdivision plan dated October 17th. We pointed out discrepancies on that plan that need to be addressed. The sheet C100 updated through November 22nd. Sheet 101 updated through November 22nd, and I would ask the applicant, if any of these are not the most current, please let us know so that we can amend them through this document. Sheet 102, grading and erosion revised up through February 22nd. Sheet 200, which is dated, revised February 22nd. Sheet 201, revised up through February 22nd. Sheet 300, erosion control notes, revised, last revised November 22nd. The sheet 301 details were last updated, or were dated October 19, 2022, no updates to that plan. 302, updated through February 22nd. Sheet 303, updated through February 22nd. Fire pond detail was revised through November 22nd of last year. Stream crossing details revised, last revision was June 5th of this year. Sheet D100 was updated through November 22nd. Sheet D100, which has the same number for some reason, was also dated November 22nd. And the simple erosion control manual for small house lots from the DEP erosion control manual. Actually, I do already have that reference, so I think we're good.
And you got lot 1 through 6 there
And
too.
figure 1, lot 6 and 7 layout as well. So
George, you're the
those
man.
are covered. Okay, so those are the documents, among others, that we referenced tonight, that are part of your decision that you're basing, giving final approval on for this project.
Okay, I will bring it up now, I guess as good a time as any. Some of the conditions of approval will require changing the plan sheets. Do we want to do that? At what point in time do we know that, how do we confirm that? If we give it as a condition of approval,
Right.
so when do they have to show that plan? Is that when they go, at what point do they have to show that?
Okay,
Like the
so
board, the
what's
wood.
gonna have to happen is they're gonna have to be making changes to the survey plan. You are going to have to sign that plan, probably at your next meeting. You will be meeting next Monday night at a workshop meeting, and if they could turn it around that quick, theoretically, you could sign it next Monday night. At that time, they should bring in a list and say, here's what we have done to meet all of these. We can check it, see if it's done, and I think that would be adequate.
I am good with that, so I would assume you're in a relative early, now, we may not approve this, I start with that caveat. So it would probably be best if we could go ahead and do it, or if we give them, there are any conditions as we're going through this that need to be done before they break ground.
Let's discuss that when you do your
When we-
conditions, and
Okay.
then you can put timelines on
We
it.
can talk about all that stuff. Okay, so then, can we finally get to the
So-
first fight? No, okay.
I think then, what we're seeing is that everything that we might not have here with us, or that we might have questions on, or there's edits, will be either approved as conditions or not approved, right? So,
Right.
in other words, we are going through this new, it's going to be approved or
Yeah.
not approved tonight, like everything that
Right.
isn't here
Right.
is a condition.
Yes. I think, yes, I think that I think we've thrown out a bunch of conditions, so I-
Yeah.
if we miss one, we'll catch it. So yes, I think the answer to that is yes. Okay, we're ready to begin with the very first, by the time we finish this, I will know whatever it is, but the very first,
Finding of that?
thank you. Are we ready to begin, ladies and gentlemen? And the first one is pollution. Okay, so you can kind of read that. It says, will not result in undue water or air pollution, and then it gives you some impacts or things that we should consider. Is there any concern about pollution from this project?
I think based on the submitted items, whether or not they've exist in the current final packet that we have, we want them later. It shows that there has been proper attention paid to erosion, water, septic. I don't think there's any cause for concern with air. So I feel it does pass this criteria.
Do I have are you making?
So, just for the process, what should be done is, if you want to make a motion, then you would basically say, I make a motion that we find that the proposed subdivision project will not result in, and just read that right there. Someone seconds it, then the board votes on it.
That motion making's tricky.
That was my open for discussion, but I'm happy to make a
Well,
motion.
we'll get a motion a second, and then if there's any discussion.
Very well. I make a motion that the proposed subdivision project will not result in undue water or air pollution. In making this determination, the board had considered the 5 adopted criteria for pollution, and the applicant has submitted evidence and testimony of compliance with the performance standards for elevation of land in relation to floodplain management contained in section 6.25 for soils and wastewater disposal, and section 6.19 for slope of land and effects on effluents through erosion control plans and stormwater management under section 6.17 and 6.28, and for state and local health rules under section 6.16 for water supply, 6.19 for sewage disposal, and 6.24 for impact on groundwater quality.
I bet you're sorry you spoke first.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional, any comments, discussion?
The rest aren't any shorter.
Seeing none, I guess we need to do a vote, please. So first, votes to approve, please raise your hand. Unanimous. So number 2, should we just go around and make it Juliet's turn to make a motion, or
What is this, sufficient water?
sufficient water?
Water,
Yeah.
it's a short one.
So there's no indication of any well problems in the area. They've done hydraulic analysis on the fire pond.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes. I make a motion that the proposed subdivision will be served by individual wells per the requirements of section 6.16.A and B, and the proposed fire protection water supply has been reviewed and approved by the fire chief per the requirements of section 6.16.C.
I have a motion? Second. And a second by Alan. Any further discussion? If not, those voting to approve, please raise a hand. 4-0. Erosion.
Number 3 is erosion. Will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or reduction in land's capacity to hold water so that a dangerous or unhealthy condition results.
And just part of all of this is just reflect that this includes everything during the preliminary approval process as well. So you might recall on this one that the neighbors came in and complained that drainage was coming off where the road goes in now. And then we said the peer reviewer is gonna look at the drainage, they've done that, so when you're making your summary conclusions tonight, the record indicates that you've done due diligence on all of these issues, even if you're not bringing it up tonight. But there may be relevant things, like I just mentioned, that you wanna bring up and say, that's why we're approving this project, or not.
And there's a note on the plan that the topsoil will be retained and used on site, I'm sure, right?
I will
Is
motion.
there?
I'm saying yes.
So
Standard erosion control.
before, a procedural question, because it'll come up a couple of different times before he makes his motion. So is this the place we put in a condition of approval about the erosion, the lot erosion control plans being on there?
Well, if you
Or do we
feel
wait till
that
the
it's,
end?
if you feel that it's necessary and it's not included, well, what would happen is you bring that up, if you think it's important. We would say, okay, is it in the draft conditions of approval? If not, make a note and we'll add it when we get to
So we
it.
do it at the end.
Well, you do both. You mention it now if you think that's an issue, and then ask me,
Okay.
is that addressed in a condition of approval? And I will say, let's go there, we'll look at it. If it isn't, then we'll say, make a note, let's add that as a condition of approval.
Okay, well, I think we've had that discussion. So is it in the,
So, in answer on this specific one, it goes back to the submitted documents, which includes number 15, the simple erosion and sedimentation control plan for small sites, house lots, from the DEP erosion control manual. is part of the documentation that you're basing your decision on, so there's no need for that one to have a condition of approval. Because it's right there,
Okay.
that's enforceable.
So what we're saying is you gotta follow whatever that
That's
number,
right.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, that answers my question.
I will motion that the proposed subdivision will prevent soil erosion and sedimentation through the procedures outlined in the erosion and sedimentation control plan, meeting the requirements of Appendix 2 as determined by the town's peer review engineer. Topsoil will be retained and used on site.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if you are voting in favor, please raise a hand. 4-0. And I guess I'm up next, traffic. And it basically says, will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of highways or public roads existing or proposed, and if the proposed subdivision requires driveways or entrances onto a state or state aid highway located outside the urban compact area of an urban, you don't have that, or of an urban compact municipality, the Department of Transportation has provided documentation indicating that the driveways or entrance conform to 23 MRSA, squiggle 704, and any rules adopted under that section.
And you will recall that there was an issue with the offset of the subdivision across the street. They've skewed the entrance over toward that property line on that side, and the DOT has said that that's okay. not a
And that's
problem.
shown in the existing conditions
Yep.
plan.
Yes.
And Calvin was
Well,
also-
in the proposed
In the
plan.
proposed plans.
And our Public Works Director was also okay with this one,
So
so.
so this,
Right.
the entrance to this will go right by Johnny Snell's property, correct?
Sure will.
But he is not part of that.
Sure is not.
subdivision.
Why isn't it shown in the existing conditions?
Because right now it goes offset.
Yes,
And on the subdivision design
Yes.
plans, it shows that the road, the new road is gonna go over closer to the Timber Oaks property line.
I see it, I see.
Right there.
Yep.
Okay, so I will make a motion, then we can have discussion. So the proposed subdivision will not create unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions. Site distances on Hallowell Road are adequate and the site intersection offset with Patriot Way does not constitute a safety hazard. The roadway serving the subdivision has adequate capacity to serve the anticipated levels of traffic, and all road construction will meet the engineering standards of Appendix 1 as determined by the town's peer review. So I made the motion, a second?
Second.
Okay, that one seconded.
Can we
Any
talk?
discussion? Yes.
Yes. We did have a, site distance run on this a while back, right? So,
700 feet in both roads.
It's like a mile, yeah, it's as flat and straight as it gets.
yeah,
It's
so
a good
just
one.
maybe that's part of the record. I don't know.
It says that it meets the site distances.
Okay, so it's already assumed it's part of it, okay. And then, should we include like engineering review in this?
Well, it says in
That's
the
John.
last statement that John just read, it will meet the engineering standards of Appendix 1 as determined by the town's peer review.
Yes, okay, so if it's in the motion, then that's already assumed
It's
as part
reflecting
of
what's in the record.
Got it,
That's right.
got it,
Yep.
thank you.
Any further discussion?
So, under traffic, the latter part of this paragraph says, "The Department of Transportation has provided documentation indicating that the driveways or entrances conform to blah, blah, blah." So we've talked about entrances to the subdivision, but I don't see driveways listed to each individual lot. And earlier you said that it's up to the homeowner that's
Correct.
building that property to,
Correct.
and is that gonna be built into the HOA or? any
There is a
deed?
note on the recorded plan that says two things. First, they have to put a 15-inch culvert, according to the notes on the subdivision plan, in every driveway, and they have to get a permit from the road commissioner.
Okay. Driveway permit.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise a hand. 4-0. And we're on to sewage disposal.
Sorry, I'm sorry, can I bring up something, the last traffic thing? So currently, the two driveway entrances are like this, right, sorta, but the proposed plan is this.
As close to that as possible.
So should that be shown in the current proposed plan, or is that in the future?
No, it's in the design.
So,
She was on the screen?
The design shows
So
it,
it's still, they're just not,
You see
they're not
it.
completely opposite.
And the
They're
DOT
just a
didn't,
little
the
closer.
TOT didn't care one way or another.
Okay,
nor does
So you
it.
have to
We
drive
made that
the road.
change and the DOT was like, honestly,
okay,
As long as
He's
you
like-
have the site distance.
put it wherever.
okay, okay.
Honestly, sadly, in hindsight, I'm looking at it, the grading, the area that
I
was
think we're
on
good.
it.
We've had a
Yeah.
vote on
Okay,
it, so-
great, yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
we'll
Carry on.
do that. I won't do that.
So sewage disposal, it's back to you, Tyler.
All right. The sewage disposal will provide for adequate sewage waste disposal. Oh, that was very nice.
There's more to follow.
Was there?
No, you got the gray part, you went to the white, you're
yeah,
overachieving.
yeah. I make a motion that the proposed
I think
subdivision.
okay, you're right, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
I
Go
make a
ahead.
motion that the proposed subdivision will provide for adequate sewage waste disposal. Soil test pits have been submitted to document that each lot will have a septic system location that meets main wastewater disposal rules without the need for a variance or off-site easement.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I think Alan's working on that for the discussion.
Well, this doesn't pertain, the
Oh.
easements that we had talked about doesn't pertain to this, so. I'm all set.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. All in favor, raise a hand. It is 4-0. We're on to municipal solid waste disposal, Juliet.
Will not cause an unreasonable burden on the municipality's ability to dispose of solid waste if municipal services are to be utilized. I'll make a motion that solid waste generated by the proposed subdivision can be accommodated within the capacity of the town's current solid waste disposal services.
Second? I'll second it.
Mm.
Open to discussion?
We talked about this early on too.
Yes, I can't, was it gonna be
Yeah,
private?
remind me.
Private,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay,
It's
Definitely
already
gonna
on.
be private, therefore it's not gonna be accumulated at the end of the
Yeah.
entrance.
Yep.
gonna go in and, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion?
That's gonna be within the HOA.
So, any further discussion? If not, raise a hand if you approve. 4-0. Moving on to this one's for you, Alan. Aesthetic, cultural, and natural values.
That does seem up Alan's alley right there, isn't it?
What?
This does seem right up your alley there. Aesthetic and cultural natural values.
You're on a roll, don't spoil it, Mr. Burnham. Okay, Alan.
These values will not have an undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetic, historic sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife of the municipality are rare and irreplaceable natural areas of any public rights for physical or visual access to the shoreline.
Okay, do we have a motion?
The motion.
We just read the motion, we have a second.
No, that was not.
That was-
That was the value, that was.
Oh, that's right, we have to read it
That's
twice.
the
I'm sorry, yeah. Forgive me.
We'll bear with you, don't worry.
Thank you.
My motion is that the project will not have undue adverse effects on aesthetics, cultural, and natural values. The project limits clearing of trees, they've already been cleared, to those areas designated on the plan and maintains a 50-foot vegetative buffer along existing roadways. The applicant has consulted with state agencies of historic resources, significant wildlife habitat, and unique natural areas. And available data indicates the absence of such natural and cultural resources on or adjacent to the project site.
Do I have a second?
Full second.
We have a motion and a second, discussion?
So this one covers wetlands, streams, right? So I think we should maybe edit it to say applicant has consulted with federal and state agencies, right? Because the core. And then also maybe reference Goral Palmer on this one,
Because it doesn't reference anything, does it?
except for the permits.
Right.
Okay.
I'm
So-
not sure that Will Haskell reviewed any of these issues.
So are
But-
we
but-
talking?
but
This
it
is
did-
before his time.
But in that motion, it says the applicant has consulted with state agencies.
Isn't this covering wetlands and streams?
No.
It's kind of
That's
very,
It's a natural
That's covered
resource.
elsewhere. This is more of the general.
Yeah,
Oh.
number 10 is what,
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
this is more like habitats, like INFW.
Oh, you're right, yep, sorry, never mind.
Good question.
so I don't think we need to amend the discussion, we had one. I do have a comment on this one, just a reminder, the Corps told you you have to give homeowners a copy of their application and I think record it.
Mhm.
So pay attention, because they're
Yeah.
talking about, you have to notify if you find any Native American remains or.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, so that's,
a
discussion is
bad day.
complete.
Yeah.
Any other comments on,
Don't be taking up Indians.
any other comments? If you're ready to
Native
vote,
Americans.
approve, raise a hand. 4-0. Moving on to mine, conformity with local ordinances and plans. Is in conformance with the duly adopted subdivision regulations or ordinance, comprehensive plan, development plan, or land use plan. If any, in making this determination, the planning board may interpret these ordinance and plans. Motion made by John, the proposed subdivision is in conformance with requirements of the land use ordinance, which is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The code enforcement officer has conducted inspection of the project site, and determined that there are no current violations of the land use ordinance, and that standards of the Aquifer Protection District will be met with proposed road construction. Do we have a second?
Second.
Alan, discussion.
So I'm assuming this does not need to adhere to the latest land use ordinance? The
Yes.
most recent?
Yes, it does.
Yes,
It does need to
It does.
comply with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
What are you thinking there, Brian?
Oh, I didn't know if it was like grandfathered in because this
It hasn't been
application
approved.
came in before that was approved, correct?
I would say it's at the
Right,
time
and there was
of
nothing
approval.
at the April town meeting that changed. The Resource Protection District only applied to the mainstream channel up there. There's the stream that goes up through Dean Smith's, that feeder into Dyer, that tributary.
Dean can't build a house anymore.
That was actually pulled out of, that was actually pulled out of Resource Protection.
It was pulled out?
so.
Yeah, let's hold, okay, yeah, let
Sorry.
him finish the discussion. Answer the
So there
question.
haven't been any changes that affect this.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, we have a motion, a second. If you're in favor, raise a hand.
Oh, sorry.
4-0, and we're back to Tyler, financial.
Ooh.
Financial and technical capacity. The developer has adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the standards of this article.
Yeah.
Make the motion that the applicant has demonstrated financial capacity under section 6.23.A by submitting engineering cost estimates for required improvements. A conditional agreement per section 6.34.c will require the completion of all project infrastructure prior to sale of lots or issuance of building permits until a performance guarantee is approved by the board. The applicant has demonstrated adequate technical capacity under section 6.23.b through the submission of technical drawings and studies that have been peer-reviewed and through the provision of an inspection escrow fund to verify satisfactory completion of the project improvements, which is a condition of final approval.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second is made. Discussion, I will start that off. The condition, the provision about letting them come in and pay parts of, if they don't finish, that is at the end.
Well, so I'll kind of include that sentence you've got right there. We will require the completion of all project infrastructure prior to the sale of lots or issuance of building permits until a performance guarantee is approved by the board. So that is the note I'm gonna add to the plan.
Right.
Yep. And that'll take care of this,
It's
which,
draft condition number 5
Yep.
on page 9 of this document.
Then there's another condition as well in here.
That addresses number, that
Yeah.
issue.
yeah.
Their conditional agreement,
So which one do we want him to put on the plan?
number 5.
Yeah.
From the.
Oh, okay, I'm
from
sorry,
the
that's what he
draft
read was that,
conditions.
okay, he
Yeah.
wasn't
That's what
reading
you
this.
should put on the.
Okay,
Yep.
if we approve it. Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, please raise a hand to approve. And we're on to surface water. And Juliet, I think that is yours, and I think that's what you want to talk about with wetlands as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, surface waters. Whenever situated entirely or partially within the watershed of any pond or lake or within 250 feet of any wetland, great pond or river as defined in 38 MRSA 435, 490, will not adversely affect the quality of such body of water or unreasonably affect the shoreline of such body of water. So I make a motion that the proposed subdivision is not located within the watershed of Run Run Pond and is not located on property subject to mandatory shoreline zoning. Construction of the new stream crossing and removal of the existing stream crossing have been approved by the Maine DEP and Army Corps of Engineers. The stormwater treatment facilities have been moved away from the stream in accordance with DEP standards.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I will second.
Tyler's the second, discussion, please.
So just, I would add a couple of references here. Possibly the permits. You already did the permit, sorry. Goral Palmer's review.
They did not peer review this part of it.
We're on surface waters? Yeah.
They kind of did. They noted, they were the ones who told me to add the adjacent to the wetlands thing. But I guess,
No, because during in the part of the preliminary approval process was that you were not going to request a peer review of the stream crossing because you were gonna rely on the
Rely
Army
on the
Corps.
permits.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
I know they did
That's
mention
right.
things about the permits.
Yes, he did. He mentioned like the issue of the window of low water is a requirement, but
Yeah.
that was just an advisory note.
Okay, and that was more stormwater anyway, so,
Mhm.
yes. Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, raise your hand if you're in favor. 4-0.
Number 11 is groundwater. Will not alone or in conjunction with existing activities adversely affect the quality or quantity of groundwater.
It's very similar to,
it is.
Yeah, it is.
to
The motion is septic systems will be required to meet the main subsurface wastewater disposal rules, and wells will be required to meet state rules of well drilling, including the well exclusion zones on each lot as shown on the subdivision plan. There are no documented problems with obtaining an adequate supply of potable water in the project area, and the density of the proposed development and the projected household water consumption do not raise concerns for the effect of groundwater withdrawals.
Second?
I will second.
Tyler, a second, discussion?
Uh,
We're on septic.
It's 11.
Groundwater, drinking water, I think is well water.
So,
Getting back to one of your comments earlier, John, about potential well exclusion zone, should potential be removed, and should it be the actual well exclusion zone?
Potential is more reference to, we're not saying that's exactly where the well is gonna go. It's kind
No,
of like,
but it's exclusion zone.
the exclusion zone is that 50 feet around the well. Where that well is gonna be located, like, and same with the septics, like those septics are conceptual locations for where that septic's gonna be.
Okay.
It can be moved a little bit, depending on how, like, when they come in for the building permit. So my understanding is that those proposed or,
Okay, so it's proposed if that's where the well goes, that's
That's
the
the-
proposal.
that's
If
the-
it goes here, you still have
It's
to have
still-
a 50, whatever the
Yep.
limit is there.
yep,
Retained within that.
yep.
Okay, does that answer the question, Brian?
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, raise your hand, please, for approval.
Sorry.
Not you, Brian, don't get excited. Your time will come.
The well
Passes
exclusion
4-0.
is outside of the property limits, that's.
Okay, we have ways to go here, so keeping it moving. I am on flood areas. Based on the Federal Emergency Management Agency's flood boundary and floodway maps and flood insurance rate maps, and the information presented by the applicant determine whether the subdivision is in a flood-prone area. If the subdivision or any part of it is in such an area, the applicant shall determine 100 flood elevation, flood hazard boundaries. Within the subdivision, the proposed subdivision or project plan must include a condition of plan approval prohibiting the construction of any dwellings or other structures except for access roads and essential utilities within the 100-year floodplain. And my motion for that, it's a whole lot simpler. No development is proposed within areas mapped as being flood prone.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion.
reference the, I think you guys provided a FEMA map earlier.
Yeah,
They did.
yeah.
So.
Oh,
we should
yeah.
reference that.
And it's actually the
On the
floodplain, the little part of the stream that is in the floodplain is shown on the map.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, that's it.
Seeing, oh, I'm sorry, is there any other discussion from anybody else? Seeing none, please raise your hand and vote to approve. Tyler, back to you. If you do not want to make a motion, you can always say no, but this is an easy one, Tyler.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll still take it.
You got this.
Save my voice. Freshwater wetlands. All freshwater wetlands within the proposed subdivision have been identified on maps submitted as part of the application, regardless of the size of these wetlands. I make the motion that all freshwater wetlands within the proposed subdivision have been mapped by qualified professionals.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none, please raise your hand to vote to approve. You want to have discussion?
Yeah, we're on wetlands, sorry. Just to add the delineation that was done. Right?
That's what it says.
Has been identified on maps submitted as part of the,
This have been mapped, oh, okay.
Is that okay?
I'm really paying attention, yes, it's great.
okay, so we have a motion and a second, any further discussion? Raise your hand if you want to vote to approve. 4-0. Juliet Farmland.
Okay, farmland, all farmland of 5 or more acres that is in active farm production or consisting of 5 or more acres of prime farmland soil or soil classified as unique farmland or farmland of state or local importance has been identified on maps submitted as part of the application. And I make the motion that there is no active farmland nor prime farmland of 5 or more acres within the project site.
Second?
I will second.
Tyler will second, any discussion? Seeing none, raise your hand to approve. Unanimous, moving on to,
Number 15 is river, streams, or brook. Any river, stream, or brook within or abutted the proposed subdivision has been identified on maps submitted as part of the application. For purposes of this section, quote-unquote, river, stream, or brook has the same meaning as in 38 MRSA
squiggle.
squiggle 480-B.9. The motion. All streams meeting the definition of a regulated stream under the Natural Resource Protection Act have been identified on maps by the applicant, and appropriate stream barriers are shown on the subdivision plan.
Second? I will second it. Discussion? See, it's, I just start there, they go around you. Okay, any other discussion? If you vote to approve, please raise a hand. 4-0. Stormwater. The number 16, the proposed subdivision will provide for adequate stormwater management per section 5.28B. The applicant has submitted a stormwater management plan meeting the requirements of DEP regulations, and the stormwater management plan has been peer reviewed. Is there a second?
I will second.
Tyler has seconded. Okay, open to discussion?
Is there currently a condition, George, that references the impermeable barrier referenced by Goral Palmer, where he said they're gonna follow the Goral Palmer's engineering recommendation, which is the concrete or pressure-treated lumber in the,
I think we would probably put that into the amended, motion. That's one of the facts we're basing it on. So.
I wonder if I could just resolve that with Will. That seems like a submit. I do truly believe that was a no confusion, because I've never put a pressure treated. I've had the DEP review a dozen of these.
We're gonna stop.
Yeah.
If you wanna do that, we'll stop here.
No. I'm not saying.
So tonight, either yes or no, you originally agreed to do this.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure. Yeah. Pressure
Please don't
treated.
talk out
Pressure
loud,
treated's
because
going
you
in.
might
Sorry.
shoot yourself in the foot.
Yep. Sorry. Yep.
So
Pressure
you would
treated's going in.
amend, you would amend this motion.
I will amend the motion to say,
The applicant will follow the recommendations of Goral
Separate.
Palmer in the memo.
March
dated
1, okay.
March 1.
Yeah, and the last sentence would be, the applicant has agreed to, will follow the recommendation by Laurel Palmer on their letter dated March 1, 2023.
And we had talked about, stormwater easement, but that would be part of the conditions, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I will read it one more time. Per section 5.28B, the applicant has submitted a stormwater management plan meeting the requirements of DEP regulations on the stormwater management plan. The applicant is agreed to follow the recommendations made by Oral Palmer on their March 1, 2023 letter. Okay, move second, and I guess I need a second on that.
Second.
Any further discussion? Please raise your hand to approve. 4-0, good catch, Tyler. Tyler, back to you for spaghetti lots, it looks like.
Spaghetti lots prohibited. If any lots in the proposed subdivision have shore frontage on a river, stream, brook, great pond, as these features are defined in 38 MRSA, section 480-B, none of the lots created within the subdivision have a lot depth to shore frontage ratio greater than 5:1. Make the motion that no lots proposed within an area regulated by mandatory shoreland zoning that would violate the spaghetti lot rule.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, raise your hand if you approve. Okay, Juliet, we're on to Great Pond phosphorus concentration.
Right, Great Pond phosphorus concentration. The long-term cumulative effects of the proposed subdivision will not unreasonably increase the Great Pond's phosphorus concentration during the construction phase and life of the proposed subdivision. Make a motion that the project site is not located within the watershed of Runaround Pond, which is one, if not the only
The
Great
only.
Pond. Yeah.
Second?
Second.
Tyler seconds, moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, please raise your hand if you approve.
Number 19, impact on adjoining municipalities for any proposed subdivision that crosses municipal boundaries, which this one doesn't. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable traffic congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of existing public ways in an adjoining municipality in which part of the subdivision is located. The motion.
Go ahead, sorry.
The motion is, the proposed residential subdivision will not generate levels of traffic that will cause unreasonable traffic congestion within Durham or any adjacent municipality.
Second? Not to drag this out, but do we really need to even say anything since it
I
doesn't
know,
cross?
that was my question.
It doesn't,
There is
but
no-
we have addressed it.
Well, theoretically, you could have a big project.
Right.
That could affect Pownell, so that's just something that
Okay.
you
Or
would,
you could be on, we could have a.
it's a
project
state
on Brown
criterion,
Road.
state
No,
standard.
no, no, for sure, but I
everything.
think this project itself, the motion is it's not crossing two municipalities.
It says,
Well, the traffic could cross, so you're making a decision that this is not gonna cause traffic problems in another.
Oh,
in another
oh, oh,
I read it
I
more
read
like
it,
that.
yeah.
We have a motion and a second, and to keep it moving, all those in favor, please approve.
What was this, who
Or
was
vote,
the
raise your
second?
hand.
Who was the second? Who did the second?
John.
Oh, I did, I'm sorry. Thank you for remembering, Tyler.
It might have been a question for second, but
Either way, you said that second word.
If I didn't, I will. Lands subject to liquidation harvesting. The timber on the tract being subdivided has not been harvested in violation of rules adopted pursuant to 12 MRSA squiggle 8869.14. My motion is, the applicant has submitted certification by a licensed forester that timber harvesting on the site was conducted in compliance with Maine forestry management rules. Second.
I will second.
So there isn't any additional timber to be harvested, is there?
There is, remember, it's pretty scarcely
Very minimal.
forested out there, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Any other discussion?
I did do my very best to put the road in the logging road location.
Okay, so we have
Seconded.
good second, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please raise your hand to a vote, to approve. 4-0, it is approved. we move on to cluster subdivision approval, purpose of clustering, so on and so forth. And we're into, I guess we got somebody, Tyler. Please read that whole thing, purpose of clustering.
The purpose of clustering. The purpose of these provisions is to allow for flexibility in the design of subdivisions to allow for the creation of open space, which provides recreational opportunities or protects important natural features from the adverse effects of development, provided that the net residential density shall be no greater than is permitted in the district in which the development is proposed. Notwithstanding provisions of Article 4 relating to dimensional requirements, the board, in reviewing and approving proposed residential subdivisions, may modify the provisions related to the dimensional requirements to permit flexibility in approaches to housing and environmental design in accordance with the following guidelines. This shall not be construed as granting variances to relieve hardship, and action of the zoning board of appeals shall not be required. I make the motion that the proposed subdivision meets the intent of clustering lots to allow for creation of open space, to provide recreational opportunities, and to protect important natural features, and complies with the density limitations and design standards for cluster subdevelopments of section 6.33.b.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alan, is there any discussion? I mean, I think they were clear on the open space versus lot sizes, all those other kinds of things, so I think they documented that well. So, if no further discussion, a vote to approve, raise your right, any hand? 4-0, and we move on to final, ready to move on to final application phase, Rich? And so at what point in time, I guess the conditions of, are part of this motion?
Yes, and what I would suggest is somebody go ahead and make the motion, and then under discussion, we can review those draft conditions, and then amend them as we've discussed tonight, and then you make your vote once you're satisfied.
I will go ahead and read all this stuff. Decision on final plan application. Within 30 days from the public hearing or within 60 days of determining a complete application was received, if no hearing is held or within another time limit as may be otherwise mutually agreed by the board, the applicant, the board shall make findings of fact and conclusions relative to the criteria for approval contained in 30-AMRSA squiggle 4404 and the standards of these regulations. If the board by majority vote finds that all criteria of the statute and the standards of these regulations have been met, they shall approve the final plan. If by majority vote, the board finds that any of the individual criteria, the state or performance standards of these regulations have not been met, the board shall either deny the application or approve the application with conditions to ensure all of the standards will be met by the subdivision. The reasons for any conditions shall be stated in the records of the board. Okay, so my motion would be to approve the final subdivision application with the following conditions of approval. And I will read these and.
Should get a second before you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes, the motion, second.
Second, once the conditions are read.
Right, well, then you'll discuss it, and then you'll vote.
Okay.
And then we'll probably have to amend it because this doesn't include all of them, so, okay. I'm
Give you
ready.
guys a breather, I'll read these.
Nice, George.
I'm good.
I was gonna volunteer too, I was ready.
I'm good to do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Per section 6.10.e, the recording plan must be recorded in the Anderson County Registry of Deeds within 90 days of the planning board signing. Failure to record it within that time frame will require resubmission of reapproval of final plan. For section 6.10.g, no changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made unless an amended plan is submitted for the section of, per terms of section 6.11. Per section 6.10.I, the applicant shall commence construction of the required improvements within 12 months and shall substantially complete said improvements within 36 months. The applicant shall maintain a performance guidance guarantee for any remaining required improvements throughout the construction period. Per section 12.a, at least 5 days prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall notify the road commissioner in writing of the time of construction commencement so the town can arrange for inspections by a qualified engineer. Per section 6.34.c, the planning board approves a conditional agreement that requires the completion of all project infrastructure prior to sale of lots or issuance of building permits. The applicant may return to the planning board at any point in the construction to seek approval of performance guarantee for remaining improvements to allow lot sale and building permit issuance. A performance guarantee shall be submitted for the full cost of erosion and settlement controls and site stabilization per section 6.34F. Prior to release of the performance guarantee or any portion thereof, the road commissioner or their designee shall determine and provide written certification to the planning board that all improvements have been constructed in conformance with the final plan and all applicable codes and ordinances. Partial drawdowns will be allowed. This approval condition shall be added as a note on the recorded subdivision plan. Per section 6.34.b, no lot in the subdivision may be sold, leased, or otherwise conveyed until the street leading up to and along the frontage of said lot is constructed unless a performance guarantee has been approved and the fire chief has provided written verification that said road and lot are accessible by emergency vehicles. Per section 6.6.c and 6.34e, prior to release of the recording plan, the applicant shall replenish the peer review escrow fund to cover the cost of all peer review services incurred by the town and deposit a check for 2% of the engineer's construction cost estimate, but pay for the cost of town inspection of the project improvements by a qualified engineer. Prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy, the proposed trail shall be fully constructed. The planning board approval of Deer Creek Crossing subdivision is contingent upon the adoption of and compliance with the draft homeowner association legal documents submitted by the applicant on November 22, 2022. The planning board approval of Deer Creek subdivision is contingent upon the removal of the existing unpermitted stream crossing and compliance with all necessary state and federal permitting requirements for stream restoration. An easement for the stormwater treatment basin on the land to be retained by Dean Smith shall be added to the subdivision plan. Okay, now I think we're open for discussion. So what, George, if you've kept track, I guess we'll start the discussion with anything that should be added that we,
I
it's
think
not
the
covered.
only, I've just been going through those notes that I made when you were having the discussion. The only one that hasn't been addressed that I think you should add, number 12, is the applicant shall submit, all documentation related to the DEP, NRPA permits and the Army Corps of Engineer, general permits.
As well as grading plan and those other items that we talked about?
He referenced those two.
Those were already referenced.
Oh.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
This was the documentation that he showed you tonight.
Yeah, I
okay.
forwarded you I
Sorry.
forwarded it to you already, but I'll,
DEP and Army Corps of Engineers. Permitting, just so you have it as part of the public record.
and I'm curious to see what Heather says about the stream cross, because I'd mentioned to her that we were removing the other one. So I don't know if I'm gonna need anything else from them on that, in the removal.
Wait,
So-
hold up, what,
He's talking about the removal stuff.
but you already included that in your,
Yes.
So the easement for Dean Smith being added to the plan.
That's number 11.
Doesn't that also have to be added to his?
That's, I don't think, that my thought is the
to
recorded
his
plan.
deed? It has to be added to his deed too.
I think there has to be either added to a deed or a separate easement that is recorded separately.
Because if he ever sells his property, there, that easement should certainly be added to it. Because the reason I say that is, I live at the end of a dead-end road, and there was an easement added to a turnaround by the town, and the easement was added to our deed.
You haven't drafted those final documents
For the deed?
for Dean, is that sale complete?
No, the sale's not complete, so we've got silence.
So we can add that into the deed.
Yeah, I think it has,
Yeah, they'll-
Right.
they'll-
I think we
they'll
include,
be in
I think
there,
we
yeah,
include the whole
So it
subdivision
shows,
plot
so all
in
you
his
have to do
deed.
is amend and include it in any deed of transfer.
There you go.
Yes.
yes, you
Yep.
could. Because this is not gonna, a title search wouldn't find, if they were.
Unless we attach it
Mr.
to
Smith
deed.
went to sign it.
Yeah.
It's not, this is not gonna show up on his title search.
Yeah.
No.
Now it will.
100% right. Okay, the rest of the board,
um,
anybody have something we missed?
number 3, it talks about the last sentence, the applicant shall maintain a performance guarantee for any remaining required improvements throughout the construction period. And then we've got the condition about how they might do, what they're gonna do without, instead of a performance guarantee?
Okay, so they are going to, under number 5, submit a performance guarantee for the full cost of erosion and sedimentation controls and site stabilization. So they are at least going to have that during the entire term. If and when they come back and request an amended approval of these conditions to remove the restriction on lot sales, they'll either have it all done, or they will be putting up a performance guarantee for the remaining construction improvements. Those both have to remain in effect until they complete the project. That's what number,
Does that come all the way back to the planning board? So like when we say, hey, we're gonna,
if you
Performance
want to
guarantee the
remove
pavement.
if you want to remove the restrictions.
Okay.
If you complete everything.
sure,
And get the road commissioner to certify the
Yeah.
improvements, then you've met the conditional approval.
I anticipate they'll try to save the surface pavement, right? Like we'll come
Yeah.
back in and say, we're gonna keep
That's
that.
right.
We're gonna put a performance guarantee in for the surface
You
pavement.
just have to come in and.
Yeah,
But going to Juliet's point, I am confused on that, because it does, you have to start within 12, finish
Yeah.
within 36. The applicant shall maintain a performance guarantee for any is that after the, I'm not sure where that remaining kicks in.
Well, again, if they have improvements that have not been completed, they have to have a performance guarantee in effect for that.
Okay, and what we're,
See, normally.
They'll come back after.
Normally, you wouldn't have this conditional approval, condition of approval. It would just be performance guarantee for
Right.
600,000
Yes,
in the form of an irrevocable letter of credit.
right.
So that, the only part, confusing part of this is the conditional agreement. Because they're saying, we're not gonna put up a performance guarantee for the construction. So if you're not, you can't keep it in effect for the remaining improvements if you don't do it.
okay, so 3 and 5 go together.
3 and 5 go together, correct.
Okay,
Okay.
well, probably,
Yep.
that's, okay.
All right.
We had talked about an easement for access for the town to access that fire pond. It isn't in any documentation where,
Well, I think, just based on my experience, the fact that on the plan, there's a recorded easement by virtue of the
Okay,
subdivision
okay,
plan.
okay.
It doesn't specify all the terms of that, but unless they limit the town's right, then the town can do whatever it wants on it as long as it's for the purpose of the easement.
okay,
Okay, so are there any other things, take a second here before we take this final vote yea or nay. Is there any other? Cover that. Subdivision.
we also had talked about lots 6 and 7 about the grading plan.
he
and-
found the reference to that too.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
he referenced that in the beginning.
Okay, okay, good.
You young people with good memories, and Alan who has good memory.
Cold-blooded.
Well, Kevin, that puts me in the wise category.
It does. But not necessarily me. Are there any others?
$1 million.
You are. Are there anything else? A petitioner, I guess the next question is, you guys, do you agree to those conditions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, two little things here. Number 11 and number 12 that we added, we don't talk about when. All the others we say, you know, contingent upon, or prior to, or, but those two, we don't. I think you mentioned also the first one.
That's,
You said when they bring in the revised final plan set for us to sign, we should have everything and we'll sign it then.
and we talked about having this done by Monday, so we could,
Yep.
you know, all the changes up to the board and the
Yeah.
spillway, all that stuff. If you can't, we do have another meeting, it's advertised, I guess we have to continue this meeting? No, we set it as a condition now.
Yeah.
We would set a condition that says you.
Yeah, if you give your approval tonight, that will be the end of it, other than them bringing in the plan for you to sign with the corrections. And at that point in time, you can look at it,
They should submit a letter with that stating, here's what we've changed and we've met all of these conditions for getting the plan signed. So the only ones that are of concern for next Monday night would be
12.
the changes that they have to make to the plan.
Right.
And that's essentially the note, because if I'm understanding correct, is what we're saying as far as that spillway is concerned is we're just gonna build it the way that memo said. I mean, because the memo has the detail on it, so we're just gonna say, we're gonna
They're
build it
gonna
like
go
that.
with the Goral
Yeah, the
Pond.
Goral-
So I'm not gonna change the plan, I'm just gonna say, we're building it like that,
Yep,
and so all I'm gonna do is
Oh,
add
that's
this
true,
note.
yeah.
Yeah,
Already on
I'm
the
So you're not
not,
gonna put a board on your plan, which is saying,
I'm not.
we're just gonna follow that.
yeah, we're gonna go with that detail, and then I'm gonna say, I'm gonna put this note about the performance guarantee on there, and the easement's already on there, I just didn't give you guys the newest one.
But there are some other things we need, because I think right now, we don't know if we have the lot 6 or 7 grading plan.
You have that.
Okay, we're sure.
What
okay.
you don't have is the full correspondence of what I sent to the Army Corps. So I forwarded that email to George earlier, and I'll send you the DEP one also, everything I've sent to them, which is more of an online portal thing. So, actually, no, I got
Just
that.
send it to make it easier, so, and, the note about, you said you're gonna put paragraph 5 on the plan,
Yes.
so we would need to see that.
Yes.
So, the question is, I'm sure that I'll just ask it for them, if we approve this tonight, can they go ahead and start tomorrow, or whatever day, I don't know what day they're gonna start? But do we need to see all this stuff
this
on
will
Monday?
not be officially approved until you sign that plan.
Yeah.
So it'd be Monday.
So
If you have it on Monday,
if you
Is the
don't do it
recording
Monday,
official?
It won't be until
It has
August.
to be
Yeah,
recorded
Odds are.
too, right? Like, once they sign
No,
it.
once they sign it,
It's
it's
done.
officially approved.
Okay.
Then you have to record it within 90 days.
Okay, gotcha, right.
so Alan made a good point, which is, if you miss Monday, it's August whatever.
Yep.
It's the
First,
last time.
first Wednesday in August.
So, okay, so if we approve it.
Yep.
Now, we don't need to keep this meeting, continue the meeting. If we, whatever we
If you
vote.
make a decision tonight, if you don't make a decision tonight, you could continue it on Monday.
Okay, so I guess we've reached the point of, there's probably some, okay, so I guess I need to read these, can I just read the changes?
Yeah,
I don't need, just number
Yep.
12?
Yep.
Did any of the others change? Did we
yes,
change?
11 and 12, I'll tell you what you changed, which could be included in
Would you just read
in
11
your
and 12?
motion, yeah.
Please.
So 11 would read, an easement for the stormwater detention treatment basin on the land to be retained by Dean Smith shall be added to the subdivision plan and included in any deed of transfer. 12, the applicant shall submit all documentation related to the DEP and Army Corps permitting.
Okay, so, just so for my clarification, deed of transfer, have you, somebody already, is Mr. Smith already sold this land?
Now, they have a purchase and sale.
So you have to do that, so when you purchase it, his new deed will have that, okay,
Reserving,
okay.
Mhm.
transferring.
Our subdivision plot will essentially be attached to his.
Oh, I guess
deed, think would be my
okay,
plan.
so, I amend my motion to be what George just read off, and I guess I need a second on the amendment.
Second.
Okay, it's been amended, motion and a second. Are we ready to vote? Any other further discussion? Okay, if you are in favor of approving this final plan application, please raise your hand. 4-0. Okay, congratulations.
Nice.
It's been fun.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm coming back.
Yeah,
We
it's
got
been
Bowie
fun.
Hill Round 2 coming up.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. No wetlands. That one should be.
All right, guys, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion to adjourn, I'll cut off the.
Yeah, I just want to very quickly remind everybody, Monday, we're talking about the land use articles. I have, George and I have talked to all the separate committees. I think we have at least their tentative approval, pick up certain pieces. We'll talk about those in detail on Monday, so. And George, I assume you'll put out, I guess you did put out enough information to keep us going.
I have a packet that's gonna go out just as soon as I get done in here.
Okay,
I just wanna make sure you're going forward with the meeting before I send.
good, can we pick it up? Is it ready to pick up now, or?
No, it'll be on your
Down the road.
website.
Okay, so look for that packet, and so I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second, all right. Move second and raise your, any hand to approve. Unanimous, George.
Get out of
All right,
Thank you very much. I know that, and Brian, look forward to, more than likely, I will talk to the selectman and the town manager, and you will be a, whatever the hell we are, full-time member